Hello and welcome everyone on this enterprise session about Marc O'Polo's journey to direct consumer operations and SAP S/4HANA. My name is Pavel Masarovic and I'm Senior Solutions Architect at AWS based out of Vienna. And today it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for Marc O'Polo International, Stefan Sandner. Stefan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Pavel. My name is Stefan Sandner from Germany, working for Marc O'Polo as Director Digital Intelligence, and happy to meet you all.
Thank you, Stefan. And let me talk about the retail industry trends. Retail is a critical industry for SAP, and many leading retail consumer goods companies are already running SAP on AWS, including Zalando, Uniqlo, and Zappos. While we have been witnessing the transformation of the retail industry for some time, the pandemic has really accelerated four big trends, and in turn, they accelerated the migration of SAP to AWS. The first is that the consumer has more power than ever. They demand products from any combination of channels with convenience, transparency, great customer service, and low prices. The second is that the competitive marketplace is changing. New entrants are leveraging technology to meet these aforementioned consumer expectations. Also, the buying journey is more complex than ever, and leading retailers have to drive cohesive experiences across physical stores, e-commerce, and mobile in a seamless way. And lastly, especially for our large customer, technical depth is often substantial, with lots of monolithic applications that remain costly and cumbersome to manage on premises. Retailers are under immense pressure to make the changes necessary to thrive. Not all cloud service providers are alike. AWS uniquely combines the agility of a small startup team with the experience of an enterprise-class retail leader. This experience enables us to deliver massive growth for retailers and is why the largest retailers in the world run their businesses on AWS. Born from retail, built for retailers, AWS is continuously developing industry-specific services that are market tested by Amazon.com and then externalized for customer use. AWS has been leading the way with innovation for retail. There are three popular examples, as you can see, but there are many more. So moving to AWS sets you up to benefit from many of these innovations. Moving to some of other cloud may be a one-time effort with no follow-up on improvements. But at AWS, we are always looking to invent, so come along with us on our journey to constant improve retail. So how can AWS help you? We help retailers accelerate innovation so that you can improve insights to better understand your customers and enable data-driven decision-making. You can also optimize operations to reduce cost and gain business agility. You can as well transform customer experiences to reduce friction from the shopping experience and engage with customers in near real time, driving loyalty and positioning your brand as a market leader. Let's talk a bit about each of these, starting with the insight piece. With over 2 decades of experience developing retail-specific data solutions for Amazon.com, AWS enables retailers to build a next-generation intelligence, an insight engine that helps you differentiate your brand, influence customer actions, and increase revenue. The faster you can put analytics intelligence to work in your operations, the quicker you will see a return on your analytics effort, especially if key insights are driven by machine learning recommendations. These are the top challenges we hear from retailers. The first being to get a 360-degree customer view, with customers moving between channels, whether we are talking about digital, social, in-store, support, and others. It's difficult for retailers to get a holistic view of their customers and what they are looking for so that they can provide more customized and personalized services. Also gain end-to-end product visibility, where retailers want end-to-end visibility on their products from supply chains to stores, where this is becoming increasingly important as more customers are ordering products online. And in many cases, retailers are using stores as the distribution facilities, and customers, of course, want to know if they can pick up an items at particular locations. Also another one, risk and compliance, where retailers need to ensure the data they collect is protected. Ethical commerce, well, customers and employees have an expectation that retailers act as a steward for consumers, workers, and the environment. Many of our customers are looking to technology to assist them in addressing their sustainability, diversity, and ethical sourcing initiatives. Now let's talk about operational efficiency. AWS can help retailers improve IT efficiency, boost store productivity, automate supply chain, and drive continuous innovations with technologies powered by robotics and machine learning. The best solutions are non-intrusive, connected, and intelligent for end-to-end visibility into all your operations, from customers to stores to production, so you can lower costs and pass along those savings to your customers. Some of the top initiatives retail customers have continuously asked for our help with include the product availability and speed, where customers want to know if the products are available in the store before they head out. But to get this level of visibility into inventory data, retailers must bring all their data together so that they can manage it efficiently and offer customers convenient delivery and pickup options. And you will hear more in our customer story. Another one being IT transformation, where AWS is a tough leader in how retailers can lower costs and increase business agility by migrating existing applications to the cloud and implementing modern IT architectures. Employee enablement, another one, where retailers are looking for ways to enable employees with the right information at the right time. AWS provides many capabilities to help retailers leverage serverless computing and agile application development processes to deliver applications to employees. AI/ML enhanced workflows, where many of our retail customers are looking to move from reactive to predictive operations with AI/ML, enabling retailers to implement automated processes in areas like supply chain, for example, automated fulfillment or forecasting. And also important, automation and robotics. As a key investment area for retailers, AWS has many products that support customers who are leveraging IoT and robotics technologies in their IT environments. Last, let's have a look how you can transform your customer experience, where customers are increasingly moving between your digital channels and physical stores. And with the growth of buy online, pick up in store, or BOPIS in short, on other buying options, your channels need to be super tightly integrated. Built from an unparalleled legacy of customer obsession, AWS enables retailers to deliver consistent brand experiences across a range of customer touchpoints, including payment, shipping, and search. That's why industry leaders leverage AWS technologies to create the best possible experiences across the entire customer lifecycle. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the issue of customer engagements for many retailers. With AWS, retailers can transform customer experiences across the value chain with enhanced customer insights and create virtual environments to support digital engagements. Typical challenges we hear from our retail customers as it relates to the customer experience include the new digital experience, where consumer behaviors are changing and retailers are trying to figure out how to deliver new digital experiences. Physical and online store convergence, where retailers are challenged with integrated physical and digital experiences, not just from a data standpoint, but also from business processes standpoint, as these processes, are typically owned by different organizations. Need to deliver highly personalized end-to-end journeys, where AWS help retailers leverage their data to engage with customers in more personalized ways with AI/ML-based solutions. But also bringing intelligence to physical retail, where retailers are increasingly making investment in e-commerce, but 80% of retail businesses move through the stores. So retailers are starting to invest more in their retail locations, and AWS offers cutting-edge, market-tested smart store solutions using computer vision, robotics, voice, and AR/VR technologies. Let's have a look on SAP on AWS for retail. So as I mentioned before, SAP is a critical workload for retail customers. And based on the title of this presentation, I'm guessing most of you in the audience have SAP in your application portfolio. So when we talk to our SAP customers, there are a handful of things that we hear over and over again. The first being innovation, where the customers want to innovate around their core line of business that SAP supports, but they want also to do it without introducing risk to mission-critical operations. And then there is, of course, the looming end of support for ECC. While many customers have already moved to S/4HANA, the majority are still running on ECC and need to figure out the way they will navigate this transition over the next 5+ years. Also get more value from data, where we know there is a data silo challenge traditionally. It has been really hard to get data out of SAP or combine SAP data with other sources from across the businesses, whether we are talking about structured, unstructured or semi-structured data. And important as well, costs, which is always a factor, right? SAP applications demands a ton of resources, both from a pure IT infrastructure perspective and from a management perspective as well. AWS has been supporting SAP in the cloud since 2008 and SAP customers in the cloud since 2011. Over the 13-year journey, we have consistently worked backwards from the customer challenges, like the ones mentioned on the last slide, and broke new ground for SAP in the cloud. The first being to support SAP as a customer, where in November 2007, SAP needed a way to be more nimble as they provisioned infrastructure to develop the next version of SAP NetWeaver. And by early 2008, an innovation team at SAP created a self-service model where developers could provision AWS infrastructure for development and test, and AWS officially became the first cloud provider to host an SAP workload. At the time, Azure didn't exist, nor Google Cloud was still in preview. We also certified first production workloads. As customers continued to ask about running SAP in the cloud, we partnered with SAP to certify AWS infrastructure for SAP Business Suite in production by 2011. By early 2012, customers were running deployments in production, and later that year, we certified AWS infrastructure for SAP HANA. In those first few years of running production and deployments, well, we got a ton of feedback from customers who wanted to really guidance on how to design best AWS environments to meet their infrastructure requirements and deployment patterns of mission-critical SAP landscapes. So we released the first automated deployment tooling for SAP on the cloud through so-called AWS Quick Start in 2014. And we built on this leadership and continue in 2020 with the release of AWS Launch Wizard, which I will cover in a bit more depth later. We also come with the first purpose-built infrastructure for HANA. As we shift and move to the net new normal for production SAP deployments, some of our largest enterprise customers push us to go even bigger. So in 2016, we released the world's first cloud instances purpose-built for large in-memory databases like SAP HANA, with the release of our X1 EC2 instance family with up to 2 TB of the memory. We added to that in 2019 and expanded to support customers with the biggest HANA database anywhere with up to 24 TB of a memory in a single EC2 instance. Taking customer success extremely seriously, we are also the first cloud provider to build a dedicated partner program for SAP in 2013 and our own professional services program for SAP in 2017, both industry first. In 2020, we also released the certified R5B instances, a new EC2 instance family that offer up to 260,000 IOPS per instance for the storage-intensive SAP workloads, something that no other cloud providers can offer. As already mentioned, we also in 2020 released the AWS Launch Wizard for SAP, which takes deployment of production SAP systems from weeks or months to only hours. In April 2021, we also automated SAP software installation and high availability configuration for both operating systems Red Hat and SUSE Linux with Launch Wizard. And last deployment in 2021, we also released AWS Well-Architected Lens for SAP, where we announced that gives customers proven best practices based on this 13+ years of supporting SAP on the cloud. It gives customer guidance across 5 pillars, as you might be aware of: operational excellence being the first one, security, reliability, performance efficiency, and cost optimization. So let's talk about some of the things that retail customers have been able to achieve using SAP on AWS. The first being Brooks Brothers is one of the leading fashion retailers in the United States. The company is known for its shirts, suits, sportswear, and accessories for men, women, and children. Headquartered in New York City, Brooks Brothers is the first ready-to-wear fashion retailer in America, and it has outfitted 39 out of 44 American presidents. And Brooks Brothers now has the agility it requires to test and launch new projects in a short time frame. As a result, the company can fully evaluate the viability of a new retail initiatives before putting them into production, which helps innovate to better serve their customers while minimizing the risk. And as you can see the quote from the CIO, they can get the new initiatives to production much faster. And if some things aren't providing the desired business results in a pilot mode, they can quickly shut those down. Zalando is a great example of a customer combining the capabilities of SAP S for HANA with AWS services to completely reimagine their business to offer a better experience to their end customers. They used image recognition that allows them improve invoice processing, which helped them move fast enough to ship 145 million orders per year. They use also Amazon Lex, creating chatbots that make it dramatically easier for their customer service employees to respond to customer inquiry. And they have created a hybrid data lake that uses Amazon S3, Redshift, and HANA together to give them the insight they need when they need them. One of the biggest benefits of this approach is that it's enabled them to reduce the size of their HANA database, a key factor that's helping them reduce their costs of insight by 30%. Let's take another Travis Perkins customer as an example, leading United Kingdom builders, merchant, and home improvement retailer made up of 21 businesses, including Wikis, Tile Giant, and Benchmarks. During its 200 plus years of trading, it has supplied more than 100,000 product lines, from kitchens and bedrooms to painting and decorating materials, to professionals and individual customers. The company has a network of more than 1,900 outlets and employs about 30,000 staff across the United Kingdom and Ireland. They can provision SAP-ready infrastructure in just a few hours and have dramatically reduced their server footprint and associated costs, which is setting them up for their continued digital transformation. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Stefan Sandner, Director of Digital Intelligence for Marc O'Polo, to talk about their journey to direct consumer operations and SAP S4 HANA on AWS.
Thank you again, Pavel. Happy to be here today. And first of all, I want to grab up all the stuff and all the challenges Pavel already flagged during his slide deck. And I want to start with a phrase, which is also a claim. It's on us. It's on us to tackle these challenges and really be in the driver's seat here. But firstly, I want to start with a short introduction on what is Marc O'Polo doing and what we're like. Marc O'Polo today is close to 500 million euros of turnover. We're active in 60 plus markets. We have 2,000 POS stores all around Europe. We have more than 300, I guess, right now, monolabel stores, which are run by us. We have online shops in more than 40 countries, and Marc O'Polo is having 1,800 employees at the moment. Our goal is to grow really fast, and that happened during the last couple of years already. So as you can see here, we started 1967 in Sweden, but shortly after we transformed the brand towards a German brand with the Swedish heritage. So what was our challenge with the SAP transformation? We set the goal to really establish to shift to be a data-driven company and completely direct to consumer, while consolidating and towards a unified SAP implementation on AWS. That journey is not a technical one. It is way bigger. That's why we really searched for strategy and resulted in seeing 3 transformations that need to happen while this SAP transformation is happening. So first of all, on the top right, you see the technical transformation. That is the easy part. You implement SAP on AWS, you can do that. But besides that, we also need to transform our processes to be more scalable, and we need to transform our mindsets within the whole company to really be more future ready. In between, we have the values ownership we want to create. We want to create agility, and we want to also increase our level of automation. And only if these aspects interact properly, you change your organization. And that was the goal to really do with our SAP implementation. The starting point is quite known within the industry. I think a lot of you face the same issues, but also to see the same opportunities. Let's start with the opportunities. We want to be hyper-personalized. So we don't only want to do product recommendation, which is everybody doing. We want to be personalized in every aspect, on and offline. And that's a big goal we have for the next couple of years. Our revenue should be doubled within the next years as well. So we want to grow to 1 billion. We want to develop new markets and new channels. Currently, our focus is really Germany, Austria, and stuff like this, but we want to be really an international brand. We want to be completely consumer-centric, so direct-to-consumer is not only something that we see as a trend, we see it really as a added value to our brand. And also, clearly, everybody wants to have it. We want to establish the decision intelligence based on clear data. But coming from the challenges, 3 channel-based ERP systems, so a retail had his own ERP system, wholesale had his own ERP system, and finance. That was quite challenging because the data there is never unified. It also resulted in a wild API landscape. You couldn't imagine how many APIs we had in place for different domains. It was just not able to scale anymore. So more than 170 connectors, I already said that. Core systems, all on-prem and really, really slow. So that really didn't help us in internationalization or even scaling for short periods like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. And with all these fragmented segments of our architecture, it was not possible to integrate a book of standards for KPIs. So decision intelligence was far, far away. So we had a look. We were sure that we want to do our SAP installation on AWS. So what was the starting point there? We had, due to the D2C business, which I will flag out later a little bit, a solid cloud native understanding. So we did a lot of stuff cloud native, already direct to consumer. We had a lot of productive workloads there, but as already mentioned, our legacy systems were completely on-prem, and within the classic IT departments, we didn't have any understanding on how to build a SAP workload on AWS. So we searched for a partner, get a couple of suggestions from AWS, and in the end, we choose Lemongrass. Why did we choose them? They had a proven track record of SAP workloads on AWS. They had an understanding of our problem, and they already faced it a couple of times with different clients. And last but not least, what you shouldn't underestimate is the human fit was there. We really felt the connection, and that really helped us in choosing this partner. So we started a project and established classic SAP landscape on AWS. So we placed CAR 5.0 there with a production instance, a development instance, a queue instance. We placed S/4HANA there with the same setup. And then we had a couple of baseline systems like Business Warehouse, SAC Agent, Process Orchestration, and Solution Manager, just to give you a couple of examples we placed. So we launched the EC2 instances, made the whole environment working, and then we could start with a project for the implementation of SAP. But as we all know, SAP is not the only system within our architecture. So you have a lot of systems beside. a cache desk, a order management, logistics, an app, a web shop, reporting tools. You have so many different stuff or systems happening beside SAP. Usually you would connect them directly to CAR. For example, the cache desk with the price data should be connected to CAR, or the logistics should be connected to S/4HANA. That would be a dream landscape if you only have one connection per system, but that never happens. Usually it looks like that. You have spaghetti in between the systems because time brings that with it. You have so many connectors in between the systems and this stuff is not scalable as well again. That's what we try to avoid, and that wasn't the solution we wanted to go for. So to avoid this spaghetti kind of architecture, we want to establish a cloud-native Marc O'Polo API management. Why Marc O'Polo API management and why to do that yourself? As you all know, these systems need to scale. During Black Friday, during Cyber Monday, or heavy frequented periods during your calendar, they need to scale. So usually you set them up way too large for the rest of the year. And the cloud native approach besides SAP really helps us here in getting more efficiency to that thing. How will that look like in the future? You have just one connection per system towards the MOB API management, and that really helps us in changing systems in the future as well. So you just need to cut out one API or one direction, and you have the system changed. In the past, you needed to cut out more than 10 to 15 connections in between the systems, which wasn't really doable and made every change of system a huge project. We don't want that anymore. That's why we want to establish the Marc O'Polo Cloud Native API Management. How does that look like in detail? As you can see here, we have a GraphQL layer that provides our consumption layers, the front ends, with headless data. And the headless data comes from the source systems like SAP. So let's go through. The front end direct to consumer is based on a GraphQL layer. It's a headless front end, and the headless front end can consume every aspect of the data we want to use. So for example, if we need pricing and promotion, it is consumable, or even loyalty points or logins, whatever, it's consumable via the GraphQL layer. These data pods you see in the middle are sourced by the source systems like SAP. So we have the core ERP system that is connected to an event layer based on AWS Event Bridge and is triggered by changes or updates within the core systems database. So the core system is updated, the event layer fills the data pod in between, and the front ends can consume that data headless. As you can see, you don't need to scale SAP to the max or your instance from SAP to the max. You have the really cheap and fast to use data sets in between, which are basically the same as you have in your SAP system. That also helps a lot because as we all know, getting data changes and stuff like that into a process mining workload doesn't happen quite often on SAP workloads. So we also are able to track all those changes and really put process mining on top of it. How do we do that? You can see it already on the right side. We have an intelligence layer called AVA. You probably know Ex Machina, the movie. That's where the name is coming from. And AVA is a cloud-native monster. Again, it helps us to really create a clear vision on our data and really helps us to see every source system data combined towards a central data set, which should guide us with decision intelligence. So here you see AVA. We have on top a job orchestration layer on Apache Airflow, and really ECS helps us in doing that not by ourselves, but also having a managed service here. We have the sources, which can be the event layer or API layer, as you saw on the slide before, but it also could be all different kinds of sources you can imagine. So data, file systems, systems itself, legacy systems, new systems, whatever you can imagine is sourced to us. And first of all, it goes into the ingestion layer. There we have unfiltered data. Then it gets normalized, like usually in a data lake. This processing layer is also based on a cloud native service called Amazon EMR. Then on the later stage, we have the storage layer. S3, here is the service to go to. And then it's getting interesting because we don't want just to have a data lake. We want to have a delta lake that helps our analytics environment and also our data science environment. So we created the semantic layer, which is responsible for the presenting layer. It structures data. It helps us to have heavily frequented data sets already in place for stuff like Power BI or whatever you can imagine. But we also have the machine learning and data science layer, which we have already in place with SageMaker, but also Data IQ. These layers consume from the storage layer directly, but only the semantic layer has the ability to restore data in between. The data science layer is consuming it directly from S3. On top of that, we have the metadata management with AWS Glue and also the governance and lineage layer that helps us in really providing perfect services to our business departments. As you can remember from the last slide, all the data movements are going through the API management. All these data movements are timed and time-stamped. So that in the end, in combination with AVA, helps us to do proper process mining, system agnostic. And that is really something we were looking for. Let's go a little bit into detail on how the Marc O'Polo API management looks with the native services. So I picked out the material update as an example. And as you can see, SAP is the origin. Material update is consumed by the API gateway, which is available on AWS. A Lambda is really triggering different services towards the event bridge. Another Lambda is storing the files we can use later on the GraphQL layer in S3. The event bridge is triggering the CloudWatch to really have proper logging, which can also be consumed by AVA on a later stage. And the event bridge is also filling the API destination. GraphQL was it named on the last slide. So that really is something that helps us to scale SAP only to the minimum amount we need to really do our business and getting the scalability of our business model out of native services, so we don't pay that much and that heavily on the really expensive EC2 instances, and we get the load when we need it and not when we don't need it. So what were the learnings we had during the last couple of months building this stuff? It is possible to go cloud native for SAP. Do it wherever possible. It really helps you in getting your costs down to a minimum and helps you in also innovating and being fast, because cloud native stuff is just really, really fast in developing and trying out new things. We all know that. Be in charge of what you build and understand what you can build, because when you see you don't have any experience in building something, get the right partner and ask for help. They help you properly. The partner network of AWS is amazing, and that really helped us a lot. Lemongrass was a great partner in doing the stuff we didn't know and helped us focusing on the stuff we do know. And that brought us to what I just showed you. So that was my part of the presentation. Handing back to Pavel again. And I hope that you liked it. Looking forward to your questions.
So now that we have seen how Marc O'Polo approached their SAP journey, let's talk about yours and the options you have. AWS provides you with the most choice and proven approaches to SAP on cloud success. Whether you are looking to lift and shift ECC, move to HANA while staying on ECC, migrate to S/4HANA or rise with SAP, or simply innovate and transform with AWS services, we can help you to get more value out of your SAP investments. Let's talk about each of these approaches briefly, starting from the bottom left, which is where most SAP customers find themselves today. Lift and shift. For many customers, bringing their existing R3 or ECC applications to AWS in an as-is architecture is the best starting point, as it allows you to realize rapid time to value while minimizing operational disruption. You can tap into 200 plus services to innovate, provision resources as you need them, and only pay for what you use. You can migrate to Suite on HANA, as we see with other customers, staying on ECC but moving from any databases, whether it's Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, ASC, and others, to SAP HANA as part of the migration to AWS. This provides the in-memory capabilities of HANA, often leads to reduce the technical debt, and sets the stage for a move to S/4HANA down the line without having to make changes in the ERP layer. Another one to migrate to S/4HANA directly. So if you have a clear business case for S/4HANA today, or you are driving a broader digital transformation, or have a disparate ECC environments, then this approach might make most sense for you. You tackle the ECC end of support now and gain the capabilities including in the S4 like industry-specific workflows and simplified data models. Many customers are investigating RISE with SAP as one possible path to support their business transformation and their journey to S/4HANA. The beautiful thing is that you can start innovate, modernize, and transform with AWS services regardless of which path you take. We will never push customers to make application or database changes that aren't ready for. We can de-risk and simplify your path to HANA and S/4HANA, but only on a timeline that makes sense for your business needs. And we have tons of customers that have taken each approach. For example, Restaurant Brands International, the owner of Burger King, Popeye's Chicken, and Tim Hortons, has significantly reduced costs for the SAP implementation while also improving performance. Newmont, who I mentioned before, unified disparate ECC environments to single HANA-based instance after acquiring Goldcorp, and now are in progress on their S/4HANA implementation. Then, of course, there is the path Marc O'Polo took, which is to migrate your ERP systems to S/4HANA while going to cloud. And you can innovate around SAP no matter which path you take. Last year, Volkswagen joined us at reInvent to talk about how they integrated S/4HANA with their well-known digital product platform, or DPP, to improve manufacturing outcomes. But other customers are doing this with ECC also, like Invista, who has automated key processes that run in ECC, like stocking and part inspection using AWS services. We have also partnered with ISG to help customers who are unsure of the best path for them assess their own SAP migration readiness. The SAP Migration Readiness Assessment, or SMART, tools takes only 15 minutes to complete. So you answer a handful of questions about your organization, SAP applications, and it provides you a customized report with a readiness score, benchmark data, best practices, and reference case studies most relevant to your specific level of maturity. You can take the assessment at smart.brandstory.in. I'd like to close by talking about some of the new announcements for our SAP customers. The first is our AWS SAP Specialty Certification from AWS Training and Certifications. After customers starting running SAP on AWS back in 2011, we got a ton of feedback from customers that they wanted assurance their partner was qualified to deliver their SAP on AWS project on time and on budget. In response to this feedback, we broke the new ground in 2013 when we created the AWS SAP Partner Competency, the first ever program designed to ensure organizations have the necessary expertise to deliver SAP on cloud success. The AWS SAP Specialty Certification builds on that legacy by offering a counterpart targeted at individual consultants and SAP practitioners who want to prove their SAP on AWS competence. We also recently launched the SAP Lens as part of our AWS Well-Architected review. If you are unfamiliar with the well-architected review, it's a set of customer-proven design principles and best practices for ensuring workloads on AWS are well-architected. The SAP Lens provides guidance based on the unique requirements of SAP applications, helping customers apply the learnings from AWS 13 plus years, partnering with SAP and decade plus of supporting customers. When you incorporate these pillars, it will help you to produce stable and efficient SAP systems, allowing you to focus on the functional requirements. We have also made Amazon CloudWatch SAP aware, which means that with Amazon CloudWatch application insights, you can facilitate observability for your applications and underlying AWS resources. It helps you to set the best monitors for your application resources to continuously analyze data for sign of problems with your applications. Application Insight, which is powered by SageMaker and other AWS technologies, provides automated dashboards that show potential problems with monitored applications, which help you to quickly isolate ongoing issues with your applications and infrastructure. Earlier this month, we announced that CloudWatch Application Insights now supports observability for SAP HANA databases, so you can troubleshoot and resolve problems impacting your SAP HANA-based workloads more easily. It allows you easily set up dashboards for key database and application resources, allowing you to detect and resolve problems impacting your SAP HANA databases quickly. One of the best ways to get started is to work with one of our SAP competency partners, which I mentioned before. Lemongrass was critical to Marc O'Polo's SAP journey, but we have 68 partners that have proven their SAP on AWS competency by passing specialized business and technical trainings and demonstrating previous SAP on AWS customer success. So whether you are choosing ISVs or large GSIs or SIs or small medium-sized, it's the best way you to get started with your workload on AWS for SAP. And you can also learn and start your SAP on AWS journey with complementary discovery workshops where we can deliver SAP immersion days with the hands-on labs, or you can have simply our essays to get your guidance for your landscape and sizing. You can also explore the Migration Acceleration Program or MAP with the funding and incentives for your workload to help you to move and speed up your migration. You can also work with our SAP ERP specialty practice as part of AWS professional services to get you up to speed and work on your specific needs. And you can also pick up AWS SAP competency partner, as already mentioned before. We have a bunch of more great sessions. Please join them to hear from other SAP customers who are using AWS to accelerate their own SAP journeys. Thank you, Stefan, for being here as a guest speaker, and I wish you all the best for Marc O'Polo in the next journey with SAP on AWS. And thanks everyone for listening to our session, and have a great day.